What's
music.
happening?
It's been a few years since I've
Yeah,
seen.
like I haven't seen you since I graduated. It's 15 years. Holy crap.
I know, it's crazy, and I've been following you a bit on social media here and there, but
Sure,
otherwise,
staying connected is important.
right? But I'm never like in the. Is it Virginia where you are? Is that
Yeah,
where?
right outside of
Yeah,
DC. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not in that area like hardly at all. But one of my sisters used to live in Arlington, and so
Okay, yeah. Yeah, 20 minutes away. Yeah.
cool. Is that where you grew up too?
Yeah, yeah. So like my grandparents, three of them taught at Howard,
Okay.
which is in town. And so yeah, so they were all living in town, and then kind of some, little bit of a history lesson of the area. You couldn't go to school past a certain age if you were colored in Virginia. So everyone moved into the district where they could go to school. And then my parents' generation kind of tried to move back out. And so my mom lives in the same house since 1972 in Virginia. Anyway, just a lot there. And so she's still there. That means when I was looking for work, Mason's, 30 minutes away from her house. I'm like, well, that's what it's going to be. All my cousins are still around. My sister's still around and all that. Some friends I grew up with. So, DC is just a great, great place to be close to. So, probably greater place to be close to than in, uh, especially,
Yeah.
especially this last week. But,
Right.
but, but yeah, for sure. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I've stuck around. And um, it's been it's been a full experience. It's been some amazing highs and some frustrations, but some of the frustrations are like, am I frustrated because some things go so well that I am now a spoiled brat and can't deal with things when they don't go my way? Or should I have some expectations that if we achieve this, that something should come with it? And, like that.
I get that. Yeah, I can relate in some ways. But yeah, I mean, I've been working in ed tech
Awesome.
mostly, and also teaching the past like 5 years or so digital music related electives
Excellent.
for middle school students.
One of the challenges at Mason is we started a music technology program maybe 5 years ago. And we have minor and a major, and I think there's a grad degree coming, but it's like the old guard theory teachers, musicianship type people can't
Hmm.
stand a kid that doesn't sing. And it's like, well, it doesn't diminish them from being a musician just because you don't recognize how they're trying to be a musician. But on the other side, it's like, all right, how difficult will it be to get some kid to start singing along with something, or, just the whole process of music making in the computer. Yeah, it's a whole different brain thing. And yeah, it's not going to be the same, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like I'm trying to be right in the middle of that and say, I wanted to give room for the kids who don't care about singing arpeggios. But I also, my personal opinion is your music making is going to come off a lot stronger if you are able to internalize this stuff. All that to say, so what are we doing when we're talking to a seventh grader? You know?
They come from all different perspectives and all different backgrounds. Some are at our school are taking private lessons, and some aren't. We actually don't even have an instrumental music program here. We're a JK through eighth grade, like a independent school, and there's about 350 students. But that's one thing that they've never really had. They
Yeah,
have all kinds of general music and like
sure.
choral. So in other words, they're not like super immersed in the music theory side
Right.
of life right now. And most of the kids I work with have never studied a specific instrument. So just like you're saying,
Yeah,
like, and especially at this age, developmentally, they're still learning about themselves and their own identity and how
of
they connect
course.
with the world and with each other. There's a lot of social emotional like development happening, and it's hard to get like an entire grade. Like if you're teaching an entire grade level, the same classes, at that age, it's hard to get them all engaged into like music theory for like a whole
Right.
semester, as opposed to like a lot of the type of classes I teach come from a more of the abstract angle of how is sound a part of your story and a part of your life, and how can you recreate those sounds or
Sure.
those emotions, those memories, those stories, like through different avenues.
That's awesome. The so I have some kids that come to me and they just bought Fruity Loops and they know they can make beats like you wouldn't believe. And then I have other kids. I had this clarinet composition major who couldn't quite figure out how to make a beat work a certain way. And of course, I have to like, I get on my big thing, especially when it comes to classical musicians. I'm like, we got a whole like society of classical musicians that don't dance in their social life like at all. Like maybe they go to prom and then maybe they go to a couple weddings and then that's it. And so this kid, I'd say, definitely lives that life. And then I think I'm like, well, I'm different from that. How am I different? I'm like, because I dance all day long. Like we were we were trying to be Rozelle and like make beatboxing in the boys' bathroom in fifth grade happen. You know what I'm saying? So why is it that I'm more familiar with making drum beats? And it's like, well, that's because one, I just moved to that beat and I know what
Yeah.
I want it to do. And then the other part of it is I've spent time sitting at a drum set. So it's like between those two things, I know what I want to hear, which is dictated by how I want to move. And then I also know if I'm going to make a drum beat that sounds like a drum set in some fashion, having it approximate the kinds of things that are possible when drumming is also a thing. And so it's like all this personal experience leads to, so write this note, that note, that note, and that note, you know? And
Hmm.
that's what we spent the semester on. Um, and so that's kind of on the other side where it's like I have one kid who is also immersed in the thing I'm talking about. And so his beats he sounds like a genius, everything he makes. And then
Yeah.
the kid sitting right next to him, who they're both talented musicians, but he just didn't know how to feel comfortable with that thing. So that's the thing we spent a semester on is like, yeah, you need to like dance a little bit and like at least bob your head when you listen to music, something. And then, oh, by the way, don't listen to garbage. Here, listen to this. Here's some of my favorite drummers. And for this kid especially who's trying to do some pyrotechnic type of drumming. So I sent him to listen to Carter Beauford. Um,
Yeah.
like here's where you start with that.
Yeah. That the whole reason I made this connection right now is that I saw that you posted about like specifically how your personal experience with a composition project
Yes. Yes.
uh, has been helping you like cope with the kind of tragic events that we're going through, and hopefully get better. Um, but can you tell me more about like that journey?
Sure. Yeah. So specifically that piece, there was a lot of it had a lot going for it. Um, so Carol Yonch is doing a recital in February, and
Nice.
the last time I wrote something for her, I'd say it was probably while we were still in school. So I've thrown a couple things her way that I've done that weren't like for her, and she's used them. But the last time it was like, hey, I need something. Boom, 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 boom. Here you go. It's been a long time. And when we did that the last time, she was in a competition. It was a quartet. It had Chester Elliott and Greg Batista and I think Scott Devereaux were in a quartet going to the International Tuba Conference. And in the finals, you were allowed to pick your own piece. So if you made it to the finals, you could pick your own piece. And so they asked me to write them this piece. And it was a gamble because maybe they didn't even make the finals and this thing wasn't going to get performed. But so they're driving from Ann Arbor to Boulder. And every time they stop, they'd get like another page of music from me. And then they'd like stay wherever they'd stay and rehearse that more and then keep going. So it was like a last minute hero quest also. So that was kind of fun. But the thing is in the end, it all worked. And I wrote parts for my friends that I know how they play. And if you remember what the Tuba Youth Ensemble was, especially at that time, I could write literally anything and they would crush it, you know? So, so I kind of had a bunch of success leading to that. Anyway, that was successful. That piece has been performed all across the world, different size ensembles. Like one time they had the combined armed forces tuba euphoniums from like the planet in DC. 70 some tubas and euphoniums, and they played my piece because the judge from the competition was conducting that ensemble. You know,
Fantastic.
just stuff like that, you know, just crazy. So anyway, with all that as the background, 15 years later, Carol was like, all right, I got this recital, write me something. So spend a couple, you know, months just thinking about what I think it's going to be. And I've just found so much recently, the music I'm writing, if I take it from a place of experience, or I even more so pick what kind of experience I want to have. This is going back all the way to like marching band summer camps when they like give you the motivational speaking things, and Tim Lotzenheiser would show up and he'd play this game where there was a bunch of pieces of paper and they'd have different things on them that like be nice to me, ignore me, you know, whatever. And so you would take one of them and you'd stick them on your forehead, and people would act a certain way towards you, and you would, oh, he would pick it for you, he would hand it to you, here, wear this, and then you put it on your forehead, and then people would walk up to you, and I think you didn't know what was on your head. Anyway, you'd go through the exercise, and then you'd watch him, and he'd go through the bucket, and he'd pick something that he wanted and stuck it on his forehead, so everyone else didn't get to pick, and he would keep picking what he wanted. He'd pick like flirt with me, you know what I'm saying, hug me, like whatever, he just like fun ones, you know. And then he'd point out, he's like, you feel like it's unfair that I get to pick and you don't? And he's like, I never told you couldn't pick one. Like, you just took this because I handed it to you. You could have picked one. And that idea of I can come to rehearsal and pick what kind of rehearsal it's going to be. And I've turned that into exercises. So if I go to a marching band, especially a high school marching band, that doesn't really have its rehearsal technique together, an exercise I'll do is I'll pull everyone off the field, and you have to stand on the sideline and face the field. And then I say, all right, we're going to set a basics block, and we're just going to work on something simple like mark time, march forward, march backwards, whatever the little thing. And I say, and I don't want you on the field unless you can choose to make the commitment to have a silent rehearsal and run back to like pick something small. Silent rehearsal, run back to your spot, whatever those two things are. If you are going to choose to do those things every single time, you can go on the field. But if you're not going to choose them, don't even step on the field. And so it just changed the whole relationship with the rehearsal. I picked that up by remembering what Tim was teaching us with that little exercise. Fast forward to now, what do I want to spend time working on? What would be something that I would want to bring to a performance? And I, you know, just had so much fun, back connected to the conversation about the beats, dancing at parties my whole life. And, you know, it's like listening to Donna Summer and Shaka Khan and, you know, Black Box and CNC Music Factory and, you know, Gloria Estefan and just all, and then most lately listening to BTS, right? This really outgoing, like unapologetically positive and happy dance music. And is it always like, well, I mean, I'm not going to try to make a judgment about anything musically. I do get that our lives, we like to have more variety in our experience. So you can't just stay there all the time. But if you don't go there ever, there's something wrong with that too. Katy Perry, I'll throw into the mix. LMAFO. Whatever, how you say it? No, LMFAO.
LMFAO.
Yeah. All that. Mix that all together. And I'm like, all right, now take that idea, that sensibility, that energy, and then think about all of the Bach cello suites that we played. Kenzig would have us working on that every semester. You had to do something with the Bach cello suites. And so all these questions start coming up of like, well, how am I actually supposed to move to this thing? And like, what's the vibe? What's the feel? What's the purpose of this dance? And what do I do with it? Well, I don't necessarily know. I mean, I know some things about a saraband. I know some things about a courant, but I damn for sure know about some house music. I know lots of stuff about that. But the construction of the single instrument, but hearing multiple voices in the single instrument. So taking that, can you make the form happen? Can you make the the harmonic progressions happen? Can you make the phrasing happen? It's all split up, one part. And then can I write something that is some mid 90s aughts dance music for tuba solo that does that, plays the accompaniment and the melody and all that. I'm saying it came out better than anything I've ever written, and it is so fun to play, and it like is hard, like has some like I am definitely a better tuba player because of the things I challenge myself to do in it. In fact, Carol and I were just texting an hour ago about there's like four measures that are like, why did you write that? And it's like, but once you start to get it, you're like, okay, the line was too far. That was something I learned marching in the cadets. When Mark Sylvester was writing drill for us, you can picture this. You're standing wherever you're standing. All right, I need you to take 20 of the largest steps you possibly can take towards the end zone. You have 20 counts. Take 20 the biggest steps you can. So you do it. And he sees where you end up, and he's like, all right, you need to go 5 more yards than that. So I've already given you the largest steps I possibly can. And the answer is no, it actually needs to be farther than that. And within a week, I could do it. I could do it. And like
Wow.
he was a master of knowing how to look at you and knowing what you could grow into. And so, and this is mid 90s cadets drill. I mean, they still do it, but then for sure we did it. We are absolutely trying to stretch our physical limits as far as they can go. The visual aspect of the show is a major part of it. It's not just getting out there and sounding good, but you're going to see something that's going to blow your mind. So I apply that same thing to, I need to learn how to do this thing. So I write it into the piece. So let's put all that together. I've got my dear friend from Michigan asking me to write for her, who, oh, by the way, has become this international soloist, recording artist, teaching guru in the meantime, and is still wanting to collaborate with me. We have great time no matter what we're doing, throwing a frisbee or playing Super Mario Brothers. It doesn't matter what we're doing. And then we're still working professionally together too. And then I'm challenging myself. I am writing a piece that I knew how it was going to feel. I didn't even know what the form was going to be fully until I wrote the last page. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. And then it finished. Especially, and then connecting back to what we were talking about Dave Matthews Band a little bit earlier. There's interesting things in some of his songs that do for especially for a pop song, whatever. It's obviously very artistic what he does. There's some interesting thing form wise. And so I, instead of kind of bailing out on form, I've challenged myself to make different things happen with form that would make more energy happen in the piece, like build and then back off and then build, and the same kind of build that you learned all the material already, but now it's a longer build with the same stuff. Can I make the same energetic build happen with less material, but since you're already familiar with it all, you feel like you've gone through the whole, so it's like a large A and a large B, and then later it's small A, small B, but since you know the other one, you get the same experience. Like, so anyway, just, and it's working. It like, the whole thing came together. I challenged myself in terms of my own compositional like goals. Like, I didn't invent anything in terms of the whole field of music, but in terms of my experience of it as a composer, I pushed myself quite a bit. In terms of my experience as a tuba player, that's being pushed to the limit. The risk of having a blank page and then to the end of it being like, and it's finished. And I edited it past that day, but I felt very like it was very important for me to have a finished draft before midnight on New Year's Eve, so that piece sort of like was my response to 2020. It's like, all right, I lost my ability to get my band together, like my giant band. My drum line's not competing. My color guard's not competing. I haven't, been in the classroom and that energy you get from being around everybody, Um, everyone's anxiety is way high, all these uncertain things all over the place. And I get to pick some happy house music for solo tuba that's hard and fun, and just one of the feelings that Carol's going to record this thing and perform this thing, and then I got to publish it because people are going to want it. The tuba players are going to want this piece. The ones that know this kind of thing and want to do this kind of thing. Yeah, so that's what all that was. And then the feeling on the other side, especially once I set the goal of a draft by the end of before it's New Year's Day, and then I did it, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of great stuff there, and so that's what all that was.
Yeah, like your story about, you know, like choosing that card to show up with, like putting on that hat or that cardigan or whatever that you want to kind of convey to the world or to those that you're influencing directly, whether it's marching drills or like through music coaching or just like challenges in life,
Yes.
and I don't know if you're familiar with the like artist slash writer named Austin Kleon.
Oh no, enlighten me.
um I wrote about his latest like blog post on the create2cope.com site, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to reach out to you too, is like this site that we're working on is meant to kind of inspire and influence not just like educators and students, but just like people in general on how they can cope through trauma or grief.
Yeah.
And Austin Kleon, he's written a couple books, one called Show Your Work and one called Steal Like an Artist. But he came up with this like list of 100 ways that he has coped through the pandemic in ways that you would not necessarily think about when you're thinking of creation. He's a huge creator, but he's all about the process, the journey, more than like what the public or other people will see as like a final product. And so many people stress the need to have this like high quality final product.
Sure. When I'm hired to make a professional level solo commission, I am concerned with the final product. But another thing I did early on was I realized that it had been 15, 20 years since I'd messed with Final Cut Pro. And so it's like, if I'm going to get into making any kind of videos happen, then I need to at least make sure I know how to turn this thing on, and so I, in the idea of like, remember the like Jamie Abersol play along, records, I decided I was going to make a play along accompaniment and then just send it around. I'll send it to you. Maybe you want to get loose on it. And then people have been sending me back their side of the duet, and then I sit down in iMovie, or I've been using this other software called Hit Film, because partially it was like, all right, if I'm going to bring a student through this, I need to not give them the $1,000 software. I need to talk to them about, here, this is already on your computer, or this one you can download for free or whatever. And one of the happy accidents of that was just connecting with people that I hadn't talked to in who knows how long. And now we're making music together, even though we live on other sides of the planet or whatever. My friend Amy Salzgiver went to Manhattan with me, and she's in an orchestra in Turkey, and I haven't seen her in who knows how long. And she sent one, and so that was pretty cool. But in that, I have no control over what mic they have. I have no control over what kind of camera they have, what rate they can record a video and then be able to send it. So it's like all those variables are there. And I just made the decision of, that's what the aesthetic will be then. I mean, that's what we're dealing with as the real thing of being isolated unexpectedly like this. I mean, obviously by now it's a little less unexpectedly, but we still can only get a hold of whatever we can get a hold of. So those duets came together, and as you go through them, you can tell all kinds of different approaches and what the other person's ability is and what equipment they have. And it's like, it's so interesting to see them all side by side. That becomes the art much more than the actual recording itself did. So yeah, the process, that's it. Not worrying too much about trying to control all the variables, and just just if seems like it's a fun idea, then it probably is. So work hard to have fun.
Exactly. Just being a producer of not just like tangible things, but new moments for yourself that you can grow through, new mindsets.
That's it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's really cool to see like all the different ways too that people are like sharing out like you did about what they're going through. It's not easy to do. Um, no matter how separated we are right now, like social media is still like bigger than ever, and a little bit too big for society to chew on, in my opinion, right now. But like,
Yeah.
there's I might be planning a week long experience for middle schoolers with the head of school around like using like social media for good, like, and all the different ways that we can
Yeah.
promote like goodness, in whatever that looks like or sounds like or feels like. And I know you have posted a few of your projects. I saw a couple of those collaborations on social media, and like instantly I was like, whoa, like it was cool to see something high caliber like that being put out there and so unique. um are there other like plans that you have for kind of spreading, whether it's for George Mason like student
Sure.
activities or your own projects or
So
yeah.
we're gonna I'm working on a piece for the Wind Symphony for George Mason, and it's gonna be narrator with the band. Um and it's sort of in the spirit of Copeland's Lincoln Portrait, and but the focus will be on Frederick Douglass. And so different ways to talk about Frederick Douglass, and then appropriate music to accompany. um but what we got to do is sort of, I got to invent the orchestration to match what the students themselves are able to do, and is going to work. So one of the things is laying down a good skeleton, so it's like not everything that gets recorded ends up in the final product, for instance. So a click track with not only like the bass line or something, some organizing thing that any instrumentalist could then put that on, and then now play your part along with this thing. And I also am recognizing that between the different instruments, based on what I have them doing, what I send them will be different. They'll literally be listening to something different and recording to that. But since I have the computer, I can line the things up and make them fit together the way I want them to. But making sure that they have a nice user-friendly experience of just listen to this and play this along with that. You don't need to worry about all the crazy, conceptual things that I'm trying to accomplish. And then when you hear the final product, I will have taken those guideposts out, and you'll just hear how things go. I've considered that with the duets as well. I need a bunch of time to do it. Everyone recorded to me. I'm considering taking me out and starting to mash together the people that didn't hear each other. And so that'll happen. And maybe not just duets, maybe like larger groups of them. So this piece for the Wind Symphony will sort of be um, a prototype of that. But then also another thing that I can do in those skeletons, but regardless, I mean, besides, in addition to here's the click, here's this harmonic support or something like that, I can literally talk to them. So when I used to coach a group at Busch Gardens here in Virginia, and the show is called Mix It Up, and it's basically a drum corps style show for stage in the spirit of like Blast or I think it's called Odyssey, or those different that different type of stage show, brass theater like they used to do. And the musicians had in their ear a recorded track, clicks. They could hear the accompaniment, but then they'd also have, now it's time for this song. Here's the count. 1, 2, ready. Just little things like that no one else could hear. And then from a performer standpoint, just that much easier to know exactly where you're supposed to start. It gives you that confidence that a really good relationship with a conductor will give you. But we got to do it with audio in this case. I mean, I guess I could like record myself conducting or something, but I mean, maybe we'll see. But I guess it depends on the thing I'm talking about. But and then there was a combined like jazz band one, and the guys that were putting that together, they provided that too. And one of the things that was the most helpful, you record the whole track and you try to do it in one take, and just hearing the guy who's doing the arrangement say short right before the last note reminds you, all right, pop. And so it's very helpful.
Yeah, cueing is important when you're dealing with a larger ensemble. I took part in something with the South Bay Philharmonic recently where there's this like an excerpt from the 1812 overture, and I was using my mallet station, like a Pearl mallet station, like a
Oh,
MIDI
sweet. Yeah. We
controller.
have a mallet cat in a pet band that we use.
Yeah, it's so tight. And I used it for the church bells part.
Perfect.
But it was like, it's cool. Like he conducted,
Oh, good.
and then you could also like hear some cues.
Yeah.
But there's 10 ways of doing it.
Sure.
Awesome. Like, what are some things that you're like, as a person in general, curious about with what you might maybe change or tackle in helping others like cope in some way, whether it's your students or the other people in your life?
So like isolation is a huge thing, and it's like falling for the trick that there's all kinds of ways that we tell ourselves stories, lies even, that make us believe that people aren't there for us, or people aren't relating to us, all kinds of different things that can just make you feel separate. And sometimes it's just a matter of setting someone up with reminders, or even tricking them out of it in the same kind of fashion. So for instance, the duets, I mean, when I started that, it was April, and a lot of the people I reached to, they thought they had no idea what they were going to do. How am I even going to be a musician? And then just even by doing this thing, and then we throw it up online, and 1,500 people watch the thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like people and people you haven't heard from in a long time, people that don't even know you commenting and telling you, the other artists that have never met each other and that kind of stuff. So that's something that I'll be looking for, is what kinds of things kind of can really encourage. Even when I say force, obviously I'm not trying to force anybody to do anything, but like I said, trick you into connecting with folks again, folks that you have a connection with, that you need to sort of reinvigorate, how to meet strangers, and the wonderful chemistry that can happen with that. Obviously that can go horribly wrong also, but being able to still try your best to find those very positive, even life-changing experiences, just because it's a new person that you don't know. And then and then it's like there's some structure. It's like I'm trying to, as I was interested in form with this unaccompanied tuba piece, right? It's like all the stuff we learned how to make a symphony hold together. It's like those same principles hold together when it's just you and an instrument by yourself. And it's like, all right, so what is it that I can pull from in terms of task management, for instance? And something that always pops in my head is video games that have tutorials built into the game. So it's like Zelda, when you start off, they're like, we're going to teach you how to jump, or how to run, or how to swing the sword. And it's like, you can't have the sword until you swing the stick a certain way, just that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, we can apply that same kind of thinking to how to plan literally anything, how we're communicating about something, or scheduling a game night, or just things that are like bigger than the thing itself. It's like, I know how to play an online game, collaborative game, but I don't know how to get the people together to play the game, for instance. And so it's like figuring out how to teach that. Um, especially, I was when I was playing Xbox, playing Destiny for a while, and that making that jump to using the app in addition to playing the game in terms of like getting into rooms with people so you could do certain missions. And it's like, well, that can easily apply to how we're designing coursework, how we're designing social events. I also think about the beginning of Mortal Kombat, and they show the top of the mountain of, in order to beat the game, you got to beat this horrible monster. And then, oh, by the way, here's all the people you're going to fight on the way to being that. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot. But you still get a glimpse, of the pacing of the enormity of the complexity of more than just I'm going to fight the next fighter, but it's like, you're going to have to fight all these fighters. Here's how long it's going to take, how many it's going to be, whatever. So it's like, how can that turn into, I want to make music with some friends or make collaborative art of any kind with friends. How do I even we can have a great idea. We can get on Zoom and talk about how excited we are, but then life's going to happen over the next month. How can we keep, these things moving in a way? I'm working on a quartet with some friends right now. And so some task management software I've been using is called Asana. And I like it because it's super user friendly, and it connects with all my Google Docs and things like that. But we're able to have, conversation style threads going. So you're not digging through a bunch of emails to try to find, especially if you're looking at the wrong email, especially on the phone, and then everybody's response keeps getting copied in every other's response. And all I'm trying to find is, yep. And I gotta search. This keeps everything looking more like a social media thread. I can put due dates, and we can look at the project over like a visual of the calendar and how things fit in and when something changes and what that's done. Making dependencies, if you can't move on to this task until this task has been, it's all visual, and that works really well. Upload documents into it and links and however we need to. And it just becomes a really easy way to go to it and just focus on that one thing and not see 15 other emails while you're looking for the one. Oh, I should open that. Now you've forgotten what you're working on. All that stuff's been happening. This is more like a focus thing. And like I said, I've recommended it to this quartet that we're working on, and it's been positive so far. So teaching that larger idea of how to organize things, how to keep things moving forward, how to get back on track when something's derailed, that kind of stuff. And it's fun to think about. If you're kind of good at Facebook, then Asana will work for you, or something like that.
Yeah.
If you understand just the simple thing of a conversation thread of multiple people, and then that turns into just tasks. Design the task, complete the task, then look at what you did. Look how much you got ahead of you. Look at what you accomplished, and it's pretty satisfying.
Oh, totally. Like getting back to those fundamentals of just being a human, like the consistency of having an organization, and sometimes you need that binary like connection to help you
Yes.
stay stable like mentally. And then kind of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like, do you have these things in place for yourself before you can go out there and spread yourself wider, or tackle like other things.
Yeah. We think about, I find myself talking also about hourglasses. Think about the sand is up here, and then you have this thin thing, and then the sand is down here as well. That little space, it's like obviously more than one grain of sand falls through at a time, but let's just pretend only one can go through at a time. And the reason I started working with that was working at the university, where I had to run around to different offices to get approvals from different people that weren't thinking about what I was doing or talking to each other. How can I get the thing I'm asking for from them down to a single grain of sand so that they can just give the thumbs up and that's it? Also thinking about those staples, that was easy buttons. It's like, can I get it down to that's the approval? Boom, that was easy. Yes. So like, do my best I can working around the university to do that. But then you realize you got to do that for yourself as well. If I'm working on 10 projects at the same time, then I myself can't get myself fully caught up. But if I've set my tasks up in a way that I can just walk into the room, I have a basket full of dark t-shirts. All I need to do is put it in the washing machine, turn it on, the end. In fact, the machine I got is a washer and a dryer. So I don't even have to switch it from the wash to the dryer. It just goes in and then it comes out, and they're always too hot and cooked a little bit. But it's one machine that does both. And it just takes my numbers of tasks down that much fewer. And once it's in there, I don't think about it until it's done. I hear, we hear the bell go off when it's done or whatever. So it's like, how can I apply that same thing to, helping somebody plan their recital, or getting through a dissertation, or just the different plans for events across the university, and what this video is going to be and what it's going to take to make a video happen. And so it's like I'm trying to be kind to myself, and just to make sure that not only do the black t-shirts get washed, but the teeth get flossed also, and the trash gets taken out, and I connect with these 4 offices to, well, who knows what, right?
Mhm.
So that's another reason why I have to write unaccompanied solo tuba pieces, because I need something to play just to make sure I pick the horn up.
Yeah, exactly. Like just the uh like, am I taking care of myself, like self-care, in
Yes.
order to kind of really pay attention to the other people that are depending on me, and to help them organize or motivate them as musicians. You're influential, in so many ways in what you're doing, like whether it's on paper or like the fundamentals of what you're teaching, or just like the intrinsic value of what you give to others to become like professional humans out there.
It's what we're
Uh,
trying to be. I hope it's helping. I have a lot of evidence on a bunch of them that we've had some positive influence over their lives, and they keep coming back around and volunteering, which makes me feel like they're grateful, but also that there's more I can do for them in addition. So happy to keep that going as well.
yeah, truth. Anything else you want to share about um, what brings you joy in this life? How any other inspirational pieces, or even questions you have?
I think in all an overarching thing in all of what we're talking about is there's a self-determination there. And what I mean by that is you get to pick, like you get to, am I gonna bounce a basketball right now? Am I gonna lift these weights? Am I gonna eat this or eat that? Like starting to like unlock how often we make choices. We may not even realize how many other options we have. But the more aware of that you can become, the more you realize you do have a lot of power and a lot of control over who you're going to be in the next week, who you're going to be in the next 6 months. You get to make a lot of choices there, and I understand that's going to be different from individual to individual, um, and the cards that get played are vastly different. But I get a lot out of remembering that there's some choice that I've made that I didn't even realize I've made. And so by keeping that in mind, it's like trying to point out my assumptions to myself. Um, and so all of this has to do with determining who I'm going to be later, and that's why I say that self-determination thing. And I've definitely been interested in the idea of adding the word civil to that too. Civil self-determination. I'm not just because I'm trying to become whoever I want to be doesn't mean I'm going to ignore the ways that I'm accountable to the group, to the society, to the family, to, and understanding that if everyone is on that tip of like trying to like build themselves the way they want to, taking into account other people's boundaries is a very important part of that, which then flips into say remembering what your boundaries are, or remembering to acknowledge your own boundaries, set your own boundaries, something like that. Um, and then that then gets you to answering questions of like, do I want to pick up, do I, I've never picked up an instrument. Do I want to try to pick up an instrument? I've played these different instruments. Do I want to pick one up over the other? Do I want to spend any more time on one, or do I want to whatever? I've been taught how to exercise. Am I going to make that commitment? I've been taught how to eat better. Am I going to make that commitment? What kinds of things am I reading? What am I putting into my brain that to get me? What kind of me am I going to become based on what I'm reading? And so just always remembering that we get to pick, and that's back to the card on the head. But it's like starting to dig into it and figure out where the choices actually happen, and that's when you discover the power.
Yeah, it's all about choice within, choosing the good.
For
Well,
sure.
I appreciate your words, of advice and encouragement, and words that describe your own personal journey and how you're striving to always grow within yourself, and instill like that engagement and that mindset in your students too.
But we're all in this together, and I remember the first time I thought about, we always say, oh, you go to school to study with this person. Um, and we don't say study under. I mean, which does happen, but what can I get out of studying with? And so we're all here to teach each other, and all my students, the students that are in my life, um, I'm so many things that I didn't picture myself being, because of who's popped into my life. I didn't know I was gonna coach poets, for instance, but that's absolutely what I do now. I get a lot out of it, part of the compositional process. Congratulations on all the things that are coming together. I'm looking forward to seeing how this website's gonna shape up, and just like count me in on whatever fun thing we can do.
Fabulous. I'm game. Let's do it.
Sweet.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, you too, dear. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye,
All
Mike.
right. Bye bye.